Okay, wait a second. Looks like the microphone is just now on. Let's see. Looks like we got a couple of people in here. Again, this is our very first time doing a YouTube live. Not really sure what to expect, so would love the feedback here. Looks like we have Bull Sander, Juan, and a couple familiar faces. Maybe we have some members of the Russian community. What is that? Is that Abotaki Investici? I don't know what that means, but sounds like something to do with investments. All right, I'm going to take a couple of minutes here just real quick to, well, quite frankly, figure out what the buttons do when I'm actually live. I was playing with this briefly, but looks like it's slower. Greetings from Serbia. Hello, great to see you from all over the world. While we give this a couple minutes for everybody to come in, I'd love if you guys just drop in the chat where you're from. I would love to see what type of a global community we have coming up here, and I'll get the questions lined up for us to get started with. Now, what we're going to do in this live shotgun style AMA is the ambassadors have prepared a list of questions for me that I guess is from, they've been collecting for the last couple of days. And we're just going to knock through them one by one and go through them each individually. Provide about 1 minute perhaps for the answers, and then ideally we'll have some additional folks asking questions live. So real quick, let's do a quick test. Bull Sander, if you are still here, let me know if everything is looking clear on your side, and I will then dive right in. Got some friends from the States. Welcome. I'm from Texas originally myself. Let's see here. All right. Well, I'm going to get this started. You know, it's interesting. I've never seen this side of the live feed before. It is disconcerting not having any sound or anything whatsoever. So I apologize if I seem nervous or anything. My friend from Ukraine. That's where I'm at right now. It's one of my favorite countries in the whole world. 2 Ukrainians, fantastic. Well, if you guys are in Kyiv, let's go. Let's meet up sometime. It's a very fun place. I've met lots of great people here. So the first question I've got here on my list, and I'm going to have this opened up in a separate window here, is will KYL be listed on an exchange anytime soon? So this is something that we'd love to be able to talk more about, but the exchanges are super duper strict about us saying anything about what's happening. And it's one of those things that where we would like to be able to share more details, our hands are kind of tied. If we say something too soon or too direct before the exchanges are ready, it can impact the speed by which we actually get listed. So it's something that we can say that as a team, we're absolutely wanting to get on an exchange just as much as anybody else does. There is a process, and it's something where what we can say is that we are in that process right now and currently working towards being able to make that happen. What I would suggest when it comes down to timelines is, I guess I could share that exchanges, they like to see, 1, a working product, which we have, and then 2, we understand that the closer that we get and the further along that we move into the parachain auction process, the easier that makes things. So what we're doing on our side is we're making sure that they've got any paperwork, any details that they need from us. And to be frank, it's out of our hands from there. Hope that helps. All right, next. Let's see here. Oh boy, wait a second. I've got a message here that says I'm not live. Let me just double check on that. That'll be super awkward. Not surprising though. Again, first live. Now, real quick, if you guys can give me a thumbs up or like an emoji or something. Do you guys hear me okay? Okay, good. Well, that is good to hear then. Y'all should post that you're live on Twitter. Yeah, good move. We can actually bring that on. Looks like, I'm not sure why it's not showing some folks are live, but I do see that other folks are. Perhaps refresh your screen, reopen up the video, or another way is perhaps to take a look at, actually, I'm just realizing if the person's not live, they're not going to see me. Awkward. All right, I'm going to go into the next question then. and keep on knocking these out. So what are Kylan's biggest achievements so far? Yeah, the most exciting thing that I'd say, which was a big hurdle to overcome, was actually the query engine. It's one thing to be able to get data from point A to point B, similar to a price feeding oracle. The challenge is being able to go from getting data from point A to point B and finding out what was the history of the data. So if I want to take the price of Bitcoin right now, that's really not too difficult. An API can deliver the price from wherever I'm getting it from, sending it to whatever application I need, and that's fantastic. But if I want to know what was the average volatility over the last 27 days between the hours of 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., that's not going to happen very easily through a basic price feed. Yet this is the exact type of data that people actually need in order to be able to make decisions. So what we did, and what we've spent the last, probably the better part of the last month working on, is being able to get it to where we can not only collect price feeding information among any other type of data, but to also be able to query that data. Here, one sec, I'm going to mute this because if you guys can hear that, I am sure the Telegram sounds are a bit obnoxious. All right, glad to hear that you got in. So next thing here, I want to let you guys know we're going to knock out a few more questions here that I have prepared, and then I'm going to go through the chat, answer some questions there. And then I've got a big update. There has been some amazing things that happened hot off the press. Just got this update early this morning. So it is about as recent as it gets. We had some internal discussions on should we wait until Monday, and consensus came about that no, we should be as transparent and just absolutely direct as possible. Let's go in on a Saturday. I'm a bit of a degenerate, so I happen to work as often as I can because I absolutely love working for Kailan and being able to build these things. Now, next question I've got. Will Kailan move to its own chain once it secures a parachain on Polkadot? This is a good question because I noticed in the chats that pretty often people can think that we originally were going to launch on Polkadot, which we are, and then there's a bit of confusion about the launch on Kusama through our token Pichu. And then some people kind of ask, well, what about our own chain? What about an Avalanche chain? What about the different networks? So I guess I can kill two birds with one stone here. Kylin itself is a self-standing network, and this is how Polkadot is built. The Polkadot relay chain is kind of like a giant loop that we're all able to hook onto, and in doing so, we get to share security and information between each other, thus making each individual sovereign, independent chain more powerful. So an example of this would be another parachain such as Moonriver on Kusama. They're one of my favorite projects that's currently live right now. And the reason is because they take pretty much anything that's on Ethereum or built on the Ethereum virtual machine, EVM for short, and they're able to deploy and to interoperate with anything on the Kusama network. Well, in that same manner, Kylin stands on its own as an independent, individual, sovereign parachain. At some point, somebody might decide to make an Avalanche parachain. Somebody, if they make a Solana parachain, it'd be extraordinarily profitable. I see Solana kind of like a sister network because we're both built upon Rust C and C++. Well, to answer this question more tersely, I'm not doing very good at the short answers part. I'll work on that. But it's something where Kylin itself is the network to be built on Polkadot's parachain. Kusama is actually an entirely different chain. So that's why we need to have the Pichu token. So that way there's not confusion upon which token is used for which purposes. Kylin is on Polkadot, Pichu is on Kusama. And that is it. There are no other chains that exist. And as other chains expand, just like Moonriver is Ethereum, XYZ, I'm sure somebody somewhere is coding in the basement, making an integration with Cardano and Avalanche and Elrond and everybody else imaginable. Once they connect to the relay chain, they've connected to us. Let's go on the next one here. All right, is it okay to hold my tokens on an exchange? So I would say that absolutely, you can hold your tokens wherever you like. I think that a question that I've seen coming up pretty often is, for the Pichu airdrops and lockdrop, is it okay to put your tokens on an exchange? And in this case here, the answer is actually no. Your tokens need to be in a wallet that you control the keys for. We call that a non-custodial wallet. Keep it simple, a non-exchange wallet. The reason is we need to be able to take a snapshot to tell how many tokens are in that wallet at a specific time. Now, I noticed another question that came up is, when are we going to do the snapshots for the Pichu airdrops? That's actually something that's going to be announced, I mean, basically right before they happen. By the nature of a airdrop, and we want to avoid people aping into Kylin the hour before the snapshot occurs, just to potentially dump their tokens immediately after. So what's going to happen is it's going to be a bit of a random process in order to reward holders. What we would suggest is to make sure that your tokens are in a non-custodial wallet. That could be MetaMask, it could be Trust, it could be Math Wallet. I can't list off every single wallet out there, but it's going to work in most applications. And if you're ever curious, please drop into our chats and we'll be able to answer the questions. The key here is non-exchange wallets. Drop into the next one here. So how do you join the Pichu airdrops? That's the fun part. No action is really necessary. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to go to a website or anything. In fact, please don't. And I didn't give a disclosure whenever I first started this, but we will never reach out to you directly. There is no way to buy Pichu tokens. It doesn't exist. And when it comes down to, if you guys ever see a website claiming otherwise or a message from someone claiming otherwise, please report them in our channel. Because the only way to get Pichu tokens is to hold Kailan in a non-custodial wallet. Now, how many Pichu will you get? So this is about a little bit of math. Real good question, and one that I'd love to be able to expand upon a little bit further. So the same way that I keep using Moonriver as an example, because quite frankly, I've studied the heck out of them. I do love Akala, Karura as well, and I think they had a very successful job with the way that they set up their parachains, and we're definitely taking note on that as well. Now, when it comes to what happened there, it depended upon how much Kusama was raised, because a proportionate amount of that can be sent out. Now, when it comes to the exact rewards and the exact numbers, that's going to depend upon how much Kusama do we need to raise. I mean, the first Kusama auctions were over 400,000 Kusamas necessary, and as of today, it's closer to 100,000. So it's something where it's a bit of a moving target that occurs. What we can say is that there is 30 million Pichu tokens that will be distributed proportionally outwards to the people that are involved with this first drop. It is a significant amount, and we have been engineering this to make it as fair and as productive as possible for our community. While, of course, I'm not at liberty to share price predictions that would not be moral, ethical, or within integrity, it's something where we understand the fundamentals. We know that there is a lot of networking processing power that people are looking to be able to deploy and to query on Kusama. We know that already SushiSwap has integrated themselves with the Moonriver parachain, and all of that data is now floating inside of Kusama. So to give that as an example, imagine whenever somebody wants to run a query through the Pichu network, it's only paid out in Pichu, which gives a heck of a lot of use case. Let's see here. Go on to the next one next. Nice. I think I killed multiple questions with once. So I see the question about Argent, the multi-signature wallet. You know what? That's a great question. I don't actually know the answer right here off the top of my head. What I will do is I'll ask Sam directly and find out, and give you guys a direct answer. I'll drop it inside of the official channel and have Bull Sander forward that over, and anybody who asks, and they will probably send out a tweet about that as well. So Bull Sander, if you would please jot that down, and we'll tweet that out later on. And hey, guys, by the way, just full disclosure, I don't know everything. I am a background in marketing, and I'm getting into technology, studying as much as I possibly can. I say that because these AMAs, while yes, it's a chance for us to connect directly, it's also a chance for us to find out what things do we not have leveled out very well. We want to get a rapid feedback loop so that way we can continue to improve faster and faster. So thank you so much for your questions, and please keep them coming. If I can't answer something for sure, or if I'm not at liberty to share something, I will answer that directly with transparency. All right, next. So will the price of Pichu and Kailan always be the same? So this is something interesting where given the fact that any token market is going to be based on the supply and demand of the coins. In this case here, Pichu, it's an entirely different token upon itself. While Kylin has a max supply of 1 billion tokens, Pichu only has a max supply of 100 million. So nobody can guess what the price of Pichu will be, no different than no one can guess what the price of Kylin will be on November 27th at 4 p.m. The price goes up, the price goes down, and there is a monstrous amount of variables at play that affect the price. What we can say is that it's something where the Pichu token does have a different tokenomic model to Kailan, and that Kailan has 40% of its allocated supply locked up in validated rewards. And those don't get touched for 10 years from mainnet launch. So it's something where there's a lot more supply of Kailan on the market than there are Pichu. This is actually the standard that we found on Polkadot. Typically, different parachains, they launch themselves with a smaller supply on Kusama because it's meant to be a faster-paced, test-like environment. That's why we use the hashtag expect chaos, because that's the message that they share. Thank you for the question. I enjoy being able to, the data side of things, wondering where things are going to be, because that's what we do as a company. We figure out things, make predictions, and analyze stuff. Let's see what we got here. How does Kylin compare to other oracles like Chainlink? You know, I love this question because it's something where I think there's a lot of confusion about what exactly is it that Kylin does and where is it that we lie in the ecosystem of blockchain. So first of all, it's something that when you're looking at oracle networks, and Chainlink's not the only one, there's a lot of excellent projects out there. When you hear oracle, that means taking data off-chain and bringing it on-chain. But in the realm of blockchain, if something is on a different chain, that is by nature off-chain. So for example, right now, anything that's happening on Solana, it's not connected to Ethereum. The only way to access that would be through a bridge. And an oracle is going to deliver data from point A to point B. Now, where Kailan differs is that, yes, we absolutely can do that. And in the early days, that's what we talked about the most, because a year ago, the concept of an oracle was still pretty new and kind of hard for people to chew on at the moment, where now it's become a lot more standardized because of powerful networks like Chainlink that have paved the way. Where we differentiate ourselves is that we are a data warehouse built inside of Polkadot. So this is going to be a more than a 1 minute answer, and I realize I'm failing completely at the shotgun situation. So please just drop a like, drop a dislike if you hate what you're seeing, but give us some feedback. I'd love to analyze and see what you guys are thinking about this style of content. But the best way to think about it is in 2004, Amazon with their AWS cloud services launched a service called S3. That was one of their storage or their cloud database system. And the small company called Dropbox, kind of like Uber, doesn't own any taxis, kind of like Airbnb doesn't own any hotels. Dropbox didn't own any storage servers. Instead, what they did is they built themselves on top of Amazon and created a user interface that allowed for people to store their data effectively and do what they want with it. They're now worth over $11 billion. So it's something that there's a lot of value in this type of situation. At the same time, what we're doing, and I bring that up, is it's a lot better to think of it as a storage solution, more so than an oracle solution. While an oracle is pulling the data off-chain and bringing it on-chain to deliver it to a smart contract, what we're doing is we're pulling data from anywhere, storing it inside of a decentralized warehouse. That means that Google, Facebook, Amazon, no one can take your data away. No one can control your data. No one can tell you what to do with your data. And on top of that, what this allows for is that now, instead of simply keeping a folder with a bunch of pictures of cat videos and travel pictures, a person is able to aggregate data from whatever they find could be valuable for people, and then other applications can leverage that data to power their applications. So the same way that Chainlink may provide price data to a DeFi application. That way people can be making loans off the spot price of the assets. Well, in this case here, people can be analyzing the changes in asset prices over time, can determine, well, what swings and fluctuations are occurring, actually query that data to validate how strong, how likely, how accurate might it be. And then on top of that, applications on applications on applications can be built. What we're envisioning is a snowball effect of innovation as a result. So long answer, I know, and I apologize. I hope that you guys found some value in it because I've been working on the best way to describe this better. At the same time, though, we're not in competition with Chainlink. We love Chainlink. They paved the way and showed the value that's in data, because if we were to be talking about how sexy data is and there wasn't an 11-figure plus billion-dollar comparable, I don't think people would really understand what we do. Though it is something that we did talk about oracles a bit too much, because the fact is we're a data warehouse, and that has a whole world of possibilities that I'm going to start blitzing through the questions faster because I'm so excited to share the big news with you about what's coming up this next week. Let's see what we got. I think we're almost done with the pre-made questions, and I'm going to dive into the chat and see what we got. That's where I'll knock them out real quick. Yeah, so what auction will Kailan join on Kusama and Polkadot? This is a really important question that I want to respect with a thoughtful answer. So it's something where this isn't a written in stone static situation where we have to, nail down on this specific date we're starting the auction. The reason is there's multiple variables at play. We want to take the auction that we think is going to have the highest chance of success and is going to make it to where it's the right timing that our technology is ready, and that we have the right audits in place. So what we have as of right now is we've got to be able to get the thumbs up from the team at Parity that says that we are able to deploy a parachain. From there, we've already raised a considerable amount of capital in order to be able to help really kickstart this process. And on top of that, we're going to be ramping up marketing operations. So more and more people can know what it is exactly that we do as a company, much like how we're doing this webinar right now, this live right now, so that people can see what's going on. So when it comes to which slot that we're looking at, we are conservatively looking at an early Q1 launch on Kusama. Now, I really enunciate the word conservatively because by all evidence and all data, including the update I'm sharing today, it's looking like it's going to be sooner. It could, and we're optimistic that it could happen as soon as December. At the same time, though, we want to be able to unpromise and over-deliver. And on top of that, there's quite a bit of work to be able to go in and make sure that we can really smash out this parachain auction. So for the sake of simplicity, I'd say a Q1 launch is what we're looking at for Kusama. And then when it comes down to Polkadot, that's a different case. That's going to depend on how does the community respond? How does the team at Parity respond? What do our audits look like on the Polkadot parachain? And then on top of that, what is the auction price on a Polkadot parachain? I believe the last auction was more than 1 million Polkadot, no different than the first auction on Kusama was excessively high at more than 400,000 Kusama. And we expect that the same way that that curve exponentially decreased in the amount of tokens that are required to win the parachain auction, we see the exact same thing coming. And we're looking to be able to target what's going to give us the highest chance of success. All right, let's check out another question here. I'm loving the question. This is fun. I was super nervous at first, but I'm feeling more comfortable now that I'm getting to geek out a little bit better and seeing Bull Sanders' encouragement that it's okay if I failed at the shotgun part. It's still a good AMA, I suppose. I'm going to practice, okay? I think the shotgun approach is fun. One of the things we're actually thinking about doing is a shotgun Polka Tech news type situation, something where we bring up different exciting things happening within the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem and talking about the technology. I mean, we have more than 50 partners that do everything from, I don't know, being able to hash the processing power of crypto mining rigs all the way to gaming NFT projects and everything in between. So anyways, yeah, we are figuring out how to be able to share more information. Now, which exchanges support the crowd loans? And that's something I really couldn't speak about, and I think I'll kill two birds with one stone and knock out the other question of what exchanges do we support. As of right now, we support Uniswap and ThorSwap. We understand that Gate listed Kylin. That wasn't us. We did not put that together. We're not the ones behind that. And in integrity and in interest of the community, we can't say that we supported it. And so we say that because until we have an official listing, we cannot comment on exchange information. What we can say is that we will be providing all the information well in advance, so that way everybody can be prepared for the crowd loans. All right, sweet. So I'm going to go in and make sure I've got all these pre-made questions done. Nice. Looks like I answered some of these back to back or together in one. All right, very cool. So now I'm going to go and take a look at what Bull Sander has sent me, so that way I can understand what questions we have. This is a bit of a beefy response. Let me take the time to read this real quick. Okay, so this is a good question, a fair thought. Comes from one of our community runners. He says, I'd like to know more about how validators can lose tokens. I read a Kailan article that said something like, if you're idle, other validators can take your tokens. And this sounded a little bit scary to me. So one, it's a great question. And it's something where this kind of goes, well, right on to the deep end of the technical side of how Polkadot and parachains in general work. I'm excited for it because I love these kind of conversations. So what Polkadot did to create a scalably fair consensus mechanism is, while Gavin Wood, when he first made Ethereum and built it to be able to quantify the processing power, we call that a gas fee. In 2015, he understood this wasn't going to be scalable. This was a Band-Aid. This was a first step. And the challenge to it would be that if so many people are on the network, more processing power would make the prices balloon for gas fees exponentially, which for anybody who's had to pay a $200 to $300 fee on Uniswap or on an NFT purchase, I know I have, it's not a very fun thing. So what Gavin Wood did differently is, as opposed to making it to where it's just any arbitrary amount of processing power, that's what's financing the network, that's what's keeping all of these computers alive. I mean, remember, a blockchain network, it's basically a giant supercomputer. You take millions of computers tied together from all over the world, and that is the network. And you've got to be able to encourage and inspire developers to keep their computers turning and burning all the time somehow. Well, gas fees is a solution for that on Ethereum. On Polkadot, what Gavin Wood took is a more innovative approach. What he said is, let's put the responsibility of the fees of the processing power onto the networks themselves. Because Polkadot itself, contrary to what some people think, it's not a traditional blockchain network. It doesn't have smart contracts as traditionally spoken. It is a giant security mechanism to allow for other networks like us to operate on there. And so what we have to do is to lock up large amounts of tokens, and that holds our chain in place. But behind the scenes, there's a bunch of developers, validators, that they have computers that are running 24/7, making sure that all that data is secure, making sure that no one is lying, no one is trying to game the system, no one is attacking the system. And if there's ever weirdness, because it's the internet, take a look at any blockchain network, there are hacks, there are attacks, there are all sorts of things that happen. And the way that we secure against that is by making sure that there is always somebody live. And by somebody, we don't mean a human being just with their hoodie on and sitting in the dark room staring at the computer, but instead that there's a computer, that there's a program, that a developer somewhere has created that security mechanism to always stay on. And if it's not on, then yes, that developer does have a risk of having their tokens slashed, because the same way that a parachain has to lock up a bunch of tokens to be able to have the right to access the relay chain, a validator has to lock up an amount of tokens. I forgot the number on Polkadot. I know on Ethereum 2.0, it requires 32 ETH. On Kailan, it's about 100,000 Kailan tokens, and each network has its own number. And to make sure that everybody plays nicely together, well, if somebody is doing something sketchy and turning the lights off and turning the lights on, turning the lights off, turning the lights on, that provides vulnerabilities to the network, which cannot happen. It's also worth noting that a validator node, this isn't something that people can kind of just wander into doing. I mean, it is an extraordinarily technical process and something that, unless a person really understands the back end of what it means to be a validator, what the responsibilities are, and how to be able to take care of those responsibilities, one of which is keeping the computer and the network, the server, online 24/7, staking is an excellent option. There's a lot of ways to be able to participate without operating a validator node. Now, that rabbit hole goes deep one, and quite frankly, I would love to make a video to just dive all the way deep into the science and tech behind validators, and that will absolutely be one of the episodes we launch in our series, Kylin Decoded. Juan, I hope that you enjoyed the comprehensive breakdown. I love seeing you in the chats, by the way, and it's always a pleasure to see what you create, especially that baby dragon. That was super cool to watch. All right, let's see. Yeah, absolutely. So progress on the website. So we do have a new site designed in the background, and it is something that the ambassadors have approved of. What we're waiting on right now is just some administrative stuff in the migration. There was something weird that happened in the current site, that something got locked, and we're trying to retrieve that information so that way we can move it from the platform that the current site is on over to the new platform. The new site's pretty cool. It's the first version is going to be pretty simple. It's just a landing page, and what we're going to do is each week add on a different page. So we're kind of starting from scratch because we're really wanting to rebrand ourselves as a data warehouse more so than an Oracle. We're not an Oracle project, we're a data warehouse project, which includes Oracle services as just one of the many, many things that we can do. I would personally expect that you guys can see a new website by sometime middle of this week. That is not entirely in my hands. That is an estimate. That is just a guess. And I will be the first person to enthusiastically be announcing the new site as soon as we're able to get that going. Let's see. So I'm going to poke through here and see what else we've got. Man, love seeing this super active chat here. Let's see. And yes, everybody, it is something that with these chats, it can be hard to read. So one moment while I check this out. Anything about a listing? Any idea for Pichu value? We talked about that. Bootstrap liquidity. I don't really understand that question. I'll have to look into that. Who is our competitors? Hey, this is a fun question. Who's our competition? You know, in blockchain, it's hard to say that we really have competition. You know, if let's just say that our Oracle service as an example. Some people could say that Chainlink or Band or API 3 are competitors to us, but the fact is that applications don't need less data. Like there's no company that's sitting around thinking, oh, well, I have enough data about fill in the blank thing. Maybe they want consumer data, maybe they want network data, maybe they want traffic data. It's just not a thing. It's like saying, do you have too much money? You know, once somebody has $1 million, oh, well, that's a pretty good life in most parts of the world. They would never want $2 million. The data industry is very similar. The more data that somebody can access and the more validated, the more valuable that data might be, it's an infinite black hole. I mean, look at companies like Facebook and Google and Amazon. They are relentlessly soaking up as much data as possible. So if it comes down to who's our competitors, well, I would use the word, instead of competition, who are our comparables? Who is it that's doing something similar to what we're doing, and what do we add on to that? What innovation or what different style do we have? And this way, there's a couple ways to look at that. The Graph Network, I like them a lot, actually. graph technology has completely innovated the way that some really interesting machine learning mechanisms work. That's a big part of what's helped social media expand to what it is now. And even inside a blockchain, it's a necessity to be able to structure data in this way. The difference is that it is not very easy right now for any normal human being to just open up a graph. So in this way here, we just made it a lot simpler to where instead of having to create some custom subgraph, any developer with an API, I mean, it's one of the most basic principles of development. If you have an API endpoint, you can connect to our API. And so if you have an application that is a fitness calculator that helps people track how many push-ups they're doing every single day, I don't know, whatever it might be. Well, boom, they can tie that to Kailan, and all of a sudden that data is now available there. The ease of use is really what we've done to make something unique, something special. But it's not just the fact that we made it to where any API, any language, if it's built on Rust, C++, Python, Java, it does not matter what language a developer is using. If they have an API endpoint, they can connect with Kylin. On top of that, it's the data warehousing component. Well, there's a lot of different comparable companies that are doing storage solutions in a manner of ways. There aren't any that are doing what we're doing on the relay chain as a parachain. There is massive power in that. And it's why the parachain series is only in part 1, and we're actually working on part 2 for next week. So a little bit of a tease for that. But it's because to be able to access and to interoperate with all that data is extraordinarily difficult. And we were actually the first people to be able to use the technology that makes this possible, created by Gavin Wood, called XCMP, to not just store data, to not just retrieve data off-chain and put it on-chain, but to be able to execute a piece of code using XCMP between 2 different parachains. So what are the comparables? There's really not. And we've analyzed the markets. We are data analysts after all. And there's nothing that is truly doing what we're doing. And it's why we're working so hard on launching this the right way. Because when this gets up and running, this is something that can add value to virtually any project out there, at least any project that uses data, which I think it'd be a more difficult process to find a blockchain application that doesn't need data than it is to find some competition. Anyways, I forgot where I was going with that. Got nervous. Let's see what else we got. I hope that was good enough of a response. The fear and greed, trade data. Any plans on enabling staking of Kailan rewards? Invested or invested? Blink does DeFi. I'm sorry, I don't understand your question there, but it sounds like a good one. If you can ask it again, and Bull Sand will forward it to me. I guess so. I see. Let's see. We answered most of these, and this will be published to YouTube, by the way, so you guys can watch it at any time. Yep, published for poor performance. Absolutely, that's how it works. And this does bring up something that came up on the data security when it's in the warehouse. You know, how do we know that the data is real? How do we know it's secure? We audit it, first of all, to make sure that, kind of like Parity, doesn't just let anybody copy and paste code. But you think about Ethereum, think about Binance Smart Chain. There's a lot of less than awesome projects that just copied someone's code on GitHub and deployed it, and now they call themselves a whole new company. That's not possible on Polkadot. There is a relentless amount of information, of a process that a person has to go through to get onto Polkadot. And well, in the very beginning stages, we're going to make sure that the initial, blue check mark, let's call it, data providers that we've analyzed, that their process is secure, that the data is compliant, and to make sure that everything is safe and ready to go. And if things change, well, then we'll be changing the status of that person. So in transparency, everybody will be able to see the status of that. All right, so then a great question I have here from Bull Sander, thank you so much, is I really want to know how community members can contribute and continue to support the project. You know, guys, I appreciate the support, and it really means the world to us. I got to take a shout out real quick to Bull Sander, because if it wasn't for him, first of all, I wouldn't be here, and I probably wouldn't be working for Kailan at all. And I think a lot of us here have actually, in some way or another, interacted with him. I say that because that's one of the best ways to support, is being able to, if you see people talking about Kailan and anyone's asking a question, if you have the answer, share it. Now, from a monetary tokenization standpoint, what I would suggest is that, well, the only way to collect Pichu tokens is to have Kailan. And then on top of that, the Kailan has to be being held in a non-custodial wallet. When it comes down to that, for now, there's a lot of Americans, statistically speaking, about, I believe it was 42% last time I saw, of our community, it was made up of people in the States. I don't believe that we are able to legally be a part of parachains. So holding Kailan is the answer. Now, for our friends from around the world, I envy you greatly, because you can freely participate in parachain loan offerings. And that's something where that's going to be the best way. Kusama, Polkadot, whichever one you guys want to be a part of, that's going to be massive, because these are community-driven events. Because the more amount of Kusama, the more amount of DOT that people are willing to put towards the relay chain, that signifies to Parity that we're a real project with real followers and real use case. Now, one thing to share about that, the parachain loan offering, or the PLO through Kusama and Polkadot, we do not get any access to those tokens. It never crosses our hands. There's no way that we're able to slash it and take it. And funny thing is, even the rewards mechanism is entirely built through a smart contract. It's something that what happens on the back end is, when a person stakes their Kusama or their Polkadot, it gets locked up for a period of time. On Kusama, it's a little bit less than a year. On Polkadot, it's a little bit less than 2 years. And your tokens get held directly on the relay chain. And then once the term is up, it then gets removed from the relay chain and put back into your wallet. So the number one way I would say to support is, well, accumulate Kusama and Polkadot. And if you see a little dippy dip, I suggest snipe in and layer out, because it's something where the more Kusama, the more Polkadot a person has, the biggest allocation of Kailan. I mean, 30% of the entire Pichu allocation goes towards the people who are staking their Kusama on the chain. All right, let's see what else we've got. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here, because I've got some exciting news, and holy crap, it has been 40 minutes. Thank you guys so much for staying here. My goodness, it's delightful to see that there are dozens of people that have decided to stay and hang out and jam with us on a Saturday evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it might be where you are. So I guess the last question here is how the value of Kailan increases with the launch of our mainnet. It's something where, to talk about the value price, and I can't really say this, I don't know, there's a lot of variables at play. We look at the fundamentals. What we understand is that data is a massive business, and we're following in the footsteps of giants: Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services. Look at Microsoft Azure, Facebook, and basically any of the top tech companies in the world. They're all based upon data, but that data is locked up. People don't get access to it. If I'm a yoga studio in San Diego, I can't just go to Facebook and ask to query all the yoga studio customer information to be able to understand the consumer demographics and psychographics and know how to make better products or better marketing. Well, that's the kind of thing that we think that this should be in the hands of people. People should be able to decide if they want to share it. And obviously, I'm talking about anonymized, compliant, secure data. It's very important that we keep things safe for people. That's why we have an army of validators and an army of data engineers within our community to be able to make sure that we make this a wholesome environment. So how does the price of Kailan gain its value? It's through the queries, it's through the network fees, it's through the storage, it's through the price feeding, it's through the oracles. Every single time data moves from point A to point B, every single time you click on a website, every single time you open an app on your phone, data is being moved from wherever it's stored onto your device. Well, imagine the blockchain variation of that. What we're building is a system that we'd like to help as many other applications as possible to unlock the value of their data. So instead of maybe a Google Analytics feed that shows that, oh, wow, we had 2,000 people go to our website yesterday. Maybe instead, a website, an application can see that there's a certain part of their app or their website that every single time people scroll there, they bounce. Just they're not interested. Maybe the button color is yellow, and if they change it to pink, more people stay. It's a silly example, but the point is it's not just about gathering the data, it's about using the data, because it creates a compounding effect of value creation. Anyways, I could literally talk for hours about that topic because I love data monetization, and it's actually one of the things I studied the most next to studying on learning how to code. Well, without any further ado, I'm going to transition into sharing the great news. So we've been talking a whole lot about the technical requirements for us to be able to move forward. One of the things that we had a video about a few weeks ago was passing our first milestone for the Substrate Builders program, and that was a huge deal. It put us into a small circle of less than a couple dozen projects to be able to be a part of that program and get direct feedback and the ability to work directly with the team at Substrate. And the next steps is we needed to be able to get it to where we could actually query our data and get data from off-chain and put it on-chain. Well, as of last night, we were able to successfully deploy data from off-chain onto our data warehouse and start producing blocks on Cha-Cha-Cha's test parachain. This is huge. I know that sounds super duper geeky. To put that in normal speak, as of right now, we're going to have some stuff to talk about exactly how to do this so other people can follow along and test it out themselves. But as of right now, it's possible to be able to take your data from an API and put it onto Kylan's data warehouse. So what's going to happen next is, for the people that have been with us for a while, you know that we have an allocation of Kailan that is specifically dedicated towards being able to incentivize developers to put together different types of services and to participate with us in different ways. And I was doing my best to not bring this up, and people asked about how can they participate with Kailan. But one of the things that we're looking for is for use cases, for people to set up the different assets on the Kailan network. And as of this next week, we'll be organizing the information, putting out an article, and creating an associated video talking about how you developers out there can finally start to play with the Kailan network live. Oh yeah, it's been a good time, guys. So there's a heck of a lot more, because this is also the kind of thing that allows us to be able to take our conversations and the pace of these parachains. Well, we can be more public about how serious it is. We still need to have an audit pass from Parity. And being in the Substrate Builders program, that doesn't mean that they're going to push us through faster. These guys think in terms of decades. If you've ever watched the Parity team speak, or you've watched the Polkadot developers or core developers, these are extraordinarily intelligent men and women that are looking to make the best impact on the world. What they're going to be doing is looking at how to make our code as quality as possible. So what's going to happen next, we're going to announce the details of our incentivized testnet. There's a massive 7-figure plus fund that will be available, that will be used to be able to encourage different types of development on Kailan. On top of that, we're going to start to share more information about our governance models and how, whenever we launch, what mechanisms will be in place to allow for true decentralized decision-making within our community. Guys, there's a whole lot coming up, and I really cannot understate what's happening. And if you see me gripping my armchair in the videos, it's because I'm just so excited. I don't even know what to do with myself. This is really just the beginning. We still have several milestones ahead of us. The Kusama launch, the Polkadot launch, and as a team, we want to get those out as fast as possible. We're on your side there too. And each one of these small steps that we take brings us closer and closer to being that full-fledged blue chip project that we dream of. So guys, I think that is an excellent place to stop, because I need to collect a lot more information before I can talk about these details in a much more deeper, comprehensive place. But for the, 40 plus people that have been here with us to talk about data and parachains on a Saturday, thank you so much for being here. It really means the world to us. If you've enjoyed this, then please drop a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hang with us anytime you'd like in the official chat. We will be looking for additional questions, and we're going to make these more organic, more natural methods of communication a lot more common moving forward. So thanks again for being here, and until next time, y'all, bye for now.